Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show that's not a show. Welcome to highly motivated, highly enthusiastic, highly excited. It's a Sunday session, a great time for community to come together, to smoke together, talk together, lay our problems on the table, drop all that we have to think about all the time, and just be here in the now. Be here in this moment that is community. Here in this moment that is a place to educate, a place to laugh, a place to come together. Tonight we talk about something I think pretty exciting. I think something quite ancient in our own bodies. So before we learned the word cannabis, before we learned the word science, before we learned the word self, your body already had a system designed to listen to it, not to sound, but to balance. See, it doesn't shout like adrenaline. It doesn't command like hormones. It whispers, it adjusts, it leans the body back towards center, towards homeostasis. When the world pushes too hard in any one direction, it brings you back to center. So they call it the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system. And the first fact I'm going to lay on the table, here it is. And it's you have more cannabinoid receptors in your body than any other receptor type. More than dopamine, more than serotonin, more than opioids, more than adrenaline. Let that land. That you have more endocannabinoid receptors than any of the others. The body didn't build that by accident. That was a system that was designed. So the endocannabinoid system, the internal system, was discovered in the late 1980s and early 1990s. It wasn't discovered because scientists were hunting for enlightenment. But because they were trying to understand how THC works. They were trying to understand how it worked with the body and why it melded so well. And what they found wasn't a drug system. They found a human system within our body that already exists. It was just waiting for a key. It was just waiting for the lock to open and understand it more properly. So the body makes its own cannabinoids, not from a plant, but from you. You already make cannabinoids naturally within your body. So they're called endocannabinoids. And two of the most studied cannabinoids are anandamides. Anandamides, the name comes from ancient Sanskrit, and the word was ananda, which means bliss, the bliss molecules. Not because it makes you float, but because it helps regulate the mood, the memory, and it helps regulate pain. And the second most studied cannabinoid or endocannabinoid is the 2-AG. So this is a workhorse molecule. It's present in much higher levels. It moves through the brain and the immune system. It helps to regulate inflammation, your appetite, your stress response. See, these aren't chemicals that you borrow from the world or from a plant or from something else. These are chemicals that you are. You are these chemicals. You produce these chemicals already within your body. So let's talk about where these endocannabinoids go, how they interact with the body. So these endocannabinoids, you've got two main types of cannabinoid receptors. So one is the CB1. So that's the cannabinoid, the type, that's a set of cannabinoid receptors, the CB1 set of receptors. And mostly they're going to be in your brain and in your central nervous system. They deal with memory, movement, emotion, pain perception, coordination, appetite. I mean, this is huge. And then you have your second set are the CB2. The second set of endocannabinoid receptors in your body are called the CB2, mostly found in your immune system, found in organs and tissues. They deal directly with inflammation, healing, defense, recovery. See, this is why cannabis doesn't just hit your head. It touches your gut, your skin, your bones, your immune response, your nervous system. It is intertwined everywhere. Like I said earlier, you have more cannabinoid receptors in your body than any other receptor. More for the cannabis or the endocannabinoid system, more involved directly in that. So it's not a single note interaction. It's a conversation with the whole body. And that's what the endocannabinoid system is doing. It is dealing with direct balance. Oh, it's so hot here. Here's another fact that most people don't hear. They don't put it on billboards. They don't advertise. The endocannabinoid system isn't designed to make you high. It's designed to keep you stable. See, scientists use a word that sounds complicated, but feels simple when you live in that direction. So scientists, the word is homeostasis. It means balance. Not perfect, not frozen, but a living, changing, evolving balance that your body takes on. Your body is always adjusting its temperature, its blood sugar, its stress hormones, the inflammation, the sleep cycles, the mood chemistry. All of this is in constant flux, constant mode of adjustment. And your body adjusts to that, changes to that, evolves with that. See, the ECS, the endocannabinoid system, doesn't run one of those systems. It helps regulate all of them. That to me is pretty exciting. Pretty exciting, a system that is responsible for running and bringing balance to so many different parts of the body, so many different internal individual systems rely on the endocannabinoid. This is why some researchers call it the master regulator. It's not a boss, it's a conductor of your entire body system, mind, body, soul. So here's the truth. When you're stressed, your endocannabinoid levels drop. Did you hear that? When you're stressed, your endocannabinoid levels drop drastically. When you sleep poorly, they shift. When you're in chronic pain, they get used up faster. So, it's a wild thing how we use the endocannabinoid system, and those levels fluctuate depending on how we feel. Look, when you exercise, you actually increase the anandamide. That runner's high that people talk about, that's not just endorphins. That's your cannabinoids in the body. It's cannabinoids that are made by your own body, rising to work in motion, in fluid motion with the body. So you're working out and you're raising those anandamides. You're also raising those cannabinoids naturally produced. Your lifestyle is working with your endocannabinoid system every single day. Every single day. Look, food, sleep, touch, breath, movement, your stress, your connection. Cannabis does not replace any one of these systems, but it interacts with it, with your food, your sleep, your touch, your breath, the movement, everything, the connection. It makes a connection. Cannabis makes a connection with the endocannabinoid system, which is making a connection with all these different independent systems that rely on that homeostasis. There goes that big word again. So let's talk plant to body without mythology, just mechanism, just real. That's what we're doing here. We're just going to talk real. See, THC looks similar enough to anandamides that it can bind to the CB1 receptors in the brain. That's why perception changes. Time feels different. Your senses get louder and more attuned. Thoughts stretch out like a sunset. You know, your thoughts expand. CBD doesn't bind the same way. It modulates. So THC and CBD bind to the CB1 receptor very differently. CBD doesn't bind like that. It modulates, it influences. It influences how strongly that your receptors are going to respond. It can slow the breakdown of your own anandamide, letting your natural cannabinoids stay active longer. That's CBD in its modulation. So one compound turns the volume, another tunes the signal. That's insane, but that's exactly what it is. Your endocannabinoid system is working on frequencies. One is turning up volume. The other one is making sure the signal is working perfectly. Like you've got that channel right. Different cannabinoids, different terpenes, different effects. That's not magic. That's chemistry meeting biology. Wow. See, I love this, and we're going to be doing this more and more. We're going to be bringing more cannabis facts, real science facts, chemistry, biology facts to the table so that we can integrate that in our health. See, cannabis works in combination with your body. Combination, not on its own. Cannabis on its own is not the magic. The magic is cannabis and good fats, cannabis and good sleep, cannabis and meditation, you know, cannabis and exercise. All of these things, bringing them together, makes the magic of cannabis. So let's jump into even more facts, more cannabis, endocannabinoid facts, science. So your endocannabinoid system is involved in memory extinction. I know this is going to be a big one. I want to say it again. Your endocannabinoid system is directly involved in memory extinction. That means it helps your brain let go of traumatic memories when they no longer serve survival. Your brain and survival and the regulation of all that, very important. So right there, your endocannabinoid system, where it's directly involved in memory extinction, is that it helps your brain let go of traumatic memories. When they no longer serve you to help and aid in your survival, it lets those go. See, this is why researchers study cannabinoids in relation to PTSD, anxiety, and even the fear response. The fear response, PTSD, anxiety. These things are directly being researched because this is where it binds. This is where it helps. It helps that direct correlation in the body, not as a forget button, but as a system that helps the brain relearn, reorganize, reassimilate. As you see, tonight, we're talking about the beautiful magic of the endocannabinoid system in our body. So the endocannabinoid system in our body also plays roles in appetite and digestion, bone remodeling, fertility and reproduction, immune cell migration, skin health, blood health, your sleep and your wake cycle, and pain signaling throughout the body. It helps regulate those pathways. So these are each individual systems running in the body, but they rely greatly on the endocannabinoid system. They rely greatly on on a system that's bringing balance so everything is able to work smoothly. What an interesting system. See, this system, the endocannabinoid system, isn't a side system. It's a body-wide network. A network working, again, body-wide. It brings homeostasis to the body so that these individual systems are able to work properly. This is where I get all excited about it. Look, from the earliest development in the womb, your ECS is active, guiding cell movement and brain formation. Some of the most important pre-steps into being a pre-human. Earliest development in the womb. Your ECS is active. I'm repeating it because it's so important. Cell movement, brain formulation. You didn't grow into this system. You grew through it, because of it. So let's say this next part very clearly, without me preaching, without a selling, without a performance. Balance is not about more. It's about the proper fit. See, the same plant that can help one person sleep can make another person restless. The same dose that eases pain for one body can fog the focus of another, can set adrift on memory bliss. Because the system it's talking to isn't identical in any two human beings. So much like our fingerprints being different, our fingerprints are different. On every human, we're individual in that way. So the medication works differently for each person. See, the same strain, same plant, same strength won't work the same on me as it may work on you. Look, your stress history, your diet, your genetics, your trauma, your rhythm, your vibe, it all matters. And this plant reacts that directly with your system. This is not a one-size conversation. This is a relationship, not just with a plant, but this is a relationship with your body and how it processes, because you might be under a lot more stress. You might, look, if you're having stomach problems and stomach pains, your ECS is there trying to work on that. You know, it's if there's brain issues or body issues or anything going on at all, your ECS, endocannabinoid system, is there concentrating to make that better once again, so that it can bring the rest of the body into a homeostasis. But that's not usually the case, because we're all over the place with all these different issues. So here's a line of science that I love because it sounds like poetry, even when it's written in a lab paper. The endocannabinoid system is an adaptive system, meaning it changes as you change. So as you age, as your environment changes, your injuries change, the healing that you go through, the growth that you go through. See, this is when it gets big. So when you work with cannabis, you're not pushing a button. You're stepping into a moving system, and you're placing yourself in the middle of that moving, evolving, healing, growing system, because it is growing and changing with you. Let me ground it with a little bit more fact, a little bit more science. Your body doesn't store endocannabinoids the way it stores fat or the way it stores sugar. It makes them on demand, when and where they are needed. You hear that? So we are not storing endocannabinoids in the body, not like fat and sugar, but we are making them on demand when and where they are needed. See, that means your system is reactive, responsive, and alive. That's huge. That right there is enormous. The plant compounds don't replace that intelligence. They join it. They bring it together as one. So if you're listening tonight, I don't want you to hear a product. I don't want you to hear this preach of better health, because that's not what it was about. This is just a reminder that inside you is a system that is built for balance, for recovery, for adaptation, for surviving a ever-changing world environmentally, mentally, emotionally, physically. That's why your endocannabinoid system is there to regulate and bring that in as one. To survive an ever-changing environment, your endocannabinoid system has to evolve with you. Cannabis didn't create, it met your endocannabinoid system. Like, I feel as though it was put here millions of years ago specifically for us. But it's two chemistries, one grown in soil, one grown inside of your body. And these two separate species, are having a conversation and regulating balance in your body. Wow. I can say nothing but wow, because I am in shock, absolute shock, that we don't see how important the relationship between plant and body really is. And maybe the real power here is not that cannabis helps us escape or numbs us or gives us an extra hype, but by us giving recognition that your body is not a machine that you endure. It's an ecosystem that you're participating in. You are participating in the workings of this biosphere ecosystem. I'm thinking Pauly Shore and that biodome. But you are participating. Every breath you take, every move you make, no, every moment that, every choice that you make, you are constantly tuning the system that is running all other systems, running a storm of systems. So when you speak about this plant, the body and the plant have a relationship. You speak about receptors that outnumber any other in the body. Molecules named after bliss, a system that makes itself for itself in real time. Not storing endocannabinoids, but producing them in real time. That's wild. That is a wild thing. And not because the world has given us cannabis, I think we have evolved with it. And that's the most important part out of all of this. It's medicine. It's ancient medicine. Look, before this will bring us around. Before there were lighters and labels and percentages printed like promises on a package, there was water and leaf and time. What am I talking about? I'm talking about tea. I'm talking about the ancient medicine of cannabis tea. So tonight, we started our conversation here about the endocannabinoid system and what it is in our body, how it works in our body. So I'm so glad that in both fact and poetry, we're able to speak here on Highly Motivated. As you've noticed, we're doing it a little bit differently tonight. Tonight, we are pre-recorded. I don't know why it took so long to tell you that, but tonight we are pre-recorded. We are coming to you from the live studio, the home studio, on a Sunday session, on a very interesting day, warm, when the rest of the country is cold as ice. The rest of the country has got frozen roads and rivers and everything's icing over. Power grids are going down. My father calls me today and he goes, 1 million people already have the power out here in Texas across the panhandle. And something that's wild. That's wild. Places are getting snow that, like Oklahoma, OKC, they haven't had snow like this. I find this amazing with our shifting with our shifting weather patterns, how wild it is to watch that evolution of weather over the last 20 years. 20 years, the weather has changed a lot. I've seen a lot of hurricanes. I've seen a lot of snowstorms. I think in some respects, the weather is getting worse. In some respects, it's longer storms, colder weather, colder temperatures. So it's not the long duration of cold temperature, but it's that short burst of it that can really take down infrastructure. Okay, so I started talking about cannabis tea. I started talking about the ancient medicine that it is and how it came before so much else. Actually, the first usages of cannabis tea are more than 4,000 years ago. When the Chinese used to refer to cannabis as ma, M-A, ma, like the mother, right? So ma is the healing, and it's magic in words. So here we go. Tea. See, cannabis tea didn't start as a product. It was practice. It was written about in some of the first medical journals more than 4,000 years ago, again by the Chinese. And it was on clay pots more than 10,000 years ago as one of the first cultivated agricultural products that is a superfood. Look, we have a system that directly regulates with cannabis. We have a system that makes endocannabinoids. But the older we're getting, the more we age, the more we change. We're not always making those cannabinoids when needed. We need a little help. Our system needs a jump start. So needing that jump start, sometimes smoking cannabis may not be it. Look, smoking the bud's not always the most beneficial. A lot of the beneficial medical cannabinoids here in the bud burn off at 250 degrees. And look, you burn it hot like that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 degrees, maybe more than 1,500 degrees. And all of that is happening, okay? All of that is happening, and all those beneficial cannabinoids are burning off at 250. So smoking isn't always the way. It helps in some places, but not everywhere. And so cannabis, making tea. If you make tea, look, ancient China, they steeped roots and leaves and seeds, and they drank this every day, not to get high, because when you're making the tea, you have to use honey, by the way, a temporary lipid. If you're just using water, it's going to dissipate quickly, if even bind at all. But using honey in your tea helps the cannabinoids bind temporarily to the honey in the tea. So drinking a honey tea with roots and leaves and maybe even using a rosin or an RSO. Ancient China, they would drink this tea to bring balance back to the body again. Because when you drink a plant, you don't rush it. You invite it in, you make ceremony. It doesn't hit like a hard hit. It moves through the body like it's something that's meant to be there. It passes through the gut, through the liver, through the slow, patient systems of the body that decide what stays, what transforms, what becomes part of you, what needs healing. What needs healing? And here's the science that's kind of tucked into the ritual of making tea. Cannabinoids like THC and CBD are fat soluble, not water soluble. So when you make cannabis tea the old way, you add something with weight. So you add in like a milk, an oil, butter, honey. That is your bridge between the cannabinoids and your bloodstream. See, this is the trick. The trick is, if you're just going to steep it in water, nothing's going to happen. But the second you put honey in, It's acting as a temporary lipid. You put butter. If you put butter into your tea, that is going to be the creamiest, most delicious tea. Butter is like a magical creamy treat. Butter is a magical creamy, ooh, what are you doing there? So remember, you're making cannabis tea. Use raw bud. Use a regular tea bag of whatever you're rocking with. But you need to use a fat. So use like honey, use butter, maybe use a little bit of RSO oil in there. That's always lovely. And maybe a little bit of milk. Milk, again, the fats in the milk, the cannabinoids are going to bond onto that. So that right there, that's chemistry. That's how you do it science-wise. We are taking ancient medicine and we are giving you the science fact of how it works. Raw cannabis is not the same plant as smoked cannabis. Obviously, it's in its living form. Look, it holds THCA, not THC. So raw cannabis, before you smoke it, it starts as THCA, the A being the acidic chain. There's no high, there's no haze. There's just healing, there's just potential. THCA interacts a little more gently. It deals directly with inflammation. It deals directly with cellular balance in the body. Cellular balance. THCA is directly reacting to your mitochondria, that which creates new cells in the body. It's huge. And there's also fermented cannabis. That's big. And that brings in the THCA, CBDA, CBGA, the mother of all cannabinoids, the stem cell cannabinoid. And this is where we start turning into a different kind of science, fermentation. So again, we're talking many different ways. We talked about tea and using fats as that transference into the body. So now we're also talking about, I said kimchi earlier. Did I say it earlier? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was thinking about it because it's delicious. So I make a cannabis kimchi. And cannabis kimchi, actually, it's been called by people recently, the nuclear kimchi. It's the nuclear option. It resets the body. It brings you to a different level of existence very quickly, breaking down the body and actually giving you an entourage effect. So this is where we start turning the kitchen into a laboratory, right? When you make something like nuclear kimchi, it's raw cannabis, it's salt, it's space and time. But it's time. You have to give it time. It's different spices and salts that I put together. It's lactobacteria. So you're not just preserving, you are transforming the cannabis into something else. And here's where it gets wild. Earlier, I mentioned that you can't get high. You don't get an entourage from raw cannabis, from THCA and CBDA, CBGA. You don't get high. But if you ferment, lactic acid bacteria is going to break things down and make nutrients more bioavailable. It's introducing probiotics. These are things that are going to talk to the microbiome and through the gut and through the nervous system. Wild. So here's where things are going to get wild as well. That breaking down, that lactobacterial breakdown of the cannabis, you get an entourage. Now, again, you eat raw cannabis, you drink it in a tea, you're not going to feel anything. You eat it in a kimchi where it's been fermented and it's a different plant. You are making it more bioavailable to the body. You don't have to use very much in order for it to be as powerful as it is. It's been nicknamed the nuclear kimchi because, wow, it reacts to the body and to the mind and very quickly. Look, your gut and your endocannabinoid system are in constant conversation with each other. Constant. So when you can bring balance to the two of these conversations, and that's, so now it's not just plant to body, it's plant to microbe, to gut, to nerves, to brain. That's a network. That is a network of food and life and living and eating and drinking and interaction, the connection, the community of the endocannabinoid system and cannabis. That's beautiful. Look, tea. Tea is a beautiful thing. It warms the soul. The ferment nourishes it, or it nourishes the stomach, which then nourishes the soul in different ways. One moves through you like a warm hug almost, and the other stays with you a little bit longer. Especially the raw kimchi cannabis. This is cannabis as food, as a culture, as a community, and I don't think people are fermenting cannabis. So we're talking about it here on Highly Motivated. You heard it here first. We're talking about it here first. Fermented cannabis, I think, is actually the future of, or one of the future ways we start using or start consuming raw cannabis. Wow, it's absolutely incredible. It's incredible. And you eat it with meals. You can eat it on its own, because when you make tea or ferment cannabis, you're practicing something. You're practicing ceremony of cannabis. You know, you're practicing something that's so old, it's in the creation of something. That's amazing. You know, you're like let medicine take its time. Let the body take its time. Let this moment right now take its time. So when I talk about cannabis tea, when I talk about raw ferments, I'm not talking about a trend. I'm talking about a lineage of hands passing knowledge at smoke sessions, at get-togethers, at moments like this, not in farmers markets, not anymore in person, not with hashtags and bullshits, right here. Just warmth, just learning, maybe a little smoke rising, a little cannabis. I've actually got some cannabis kimchi. I may have to go test it right now. Make sure it's still doing good. You know, you just got to eat as much as possible. I don't know. It's a plant. It's people. We are the real medicine. It's what the plant, it's not necessarily what the plant does to you, but what it asks you to pay attention to, what it brings to the now. That's what Highly Motivated is. Together as a community, we come together 3 times a week. Friday, Sunday, Wednesday. It's education. It's a warm hug. It's good voices, good people, good stories, great smoke, great souls. Just an amazing place. And that's Highly Motivated. And I thank you all for being here this evening on a Sunday session, on a talky talk, chit chat, smoky smoke. It's Highly Motivated. And I thank you all for being here. And I'm thankful for all of you to bring your energy here. And for all of those that help make this show happen behind the scenes, I also send out so much love and thanks. Thank you. Thank you always. Even when you don't hear it, probably don't hear it now, but still thank you. And thank you, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Have a great beginning. Look, you had the end of the week here, and the same day you're creating the beginning of the week. Amazing. And this is going to be a busy week. Just letting you know right now, Goldflower has a grand opening in Fort Pierce this next Saturday, the 31st of January. 31st of January, Fort Pierce, Florida, Goldflower Cannabis, grand opening. Yo, this is going to be huge. I'm going to be there. And then right after that, we're doing Cape Coral. Like the month after. The month after, we're doing Cape Coral. Cape Coral's already open. Holy shit, it's open. I'm so excited. So we're going to be moving and shaking and rocking and rolling. And I want to wish you all that kind of energy. So if you are in Fort Pierce or Port St. Lucie area, come say hi, come say howdy, come check out the insane discounts and the best product in the state of Florida. Thank you for coming to Highly Motivated. I am the Oraganji. And you are all welcome on the show. Always. Thank you for being here.